Okay, now.
Hi, I'm gonna present Maica. Yeah, me. I'm about rice.
On the spot.
Okay, I will share. Oh my god.
Share your life. Go ahead.
Ayan. Okay, wait na po. Okay, I'm ready na po.
Alright, hold on. Can you see? Yeah, I can see it on my end. I'm hitting record now, Maica.
This meeting is being recorded.
God bless you.
Okay. So, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Sir Michael. And good afternoon to my fellow homeschoolers. I'm Maica, and I am going to present to you my topic, my love, my everyday staple, rice, which is very delicious. So, let's start with the science behind rice. So, let's start with what is rice? So rice is actually the seed of a particular grass species, Oryza sativa, which is the Asian rice, or the less commonly known Oryza glabrima, which is the African rice. So to the top picture is the Asian rice, and the lower picture is the African rice. There is a reason why Asian rice is much more distributed, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, the grains that you see are what rice is. So next is a brief explanation of the basic parts of a grain. So there's the bran, the endosperm, and the germ. So to your left is actually a whole grain rice. It means the bran and the germ are still there. So the bran and the germ are filled with many nutrients, vitamin B, vitamin E, and so on and so forth. And they also have the endosperm. So the endosperm is actually the starchy carbohydrate that every rice has. So to your right is actually the white rice that I usually eat. I don't really know what kind of rice you eat, but the refined grain is the bran and the germ are milled and grinded to be gone. And the endosperm is the only one that's left. So yeah. So this is the process on how rice is made. There is a lot of steps, but I did compress, so it's a bit shorter now. There's the seed selection, land preparation, crop establishment, water management, nutrient management, crop health management, then the harvesting, and then the post-harvest. So let's start with the seed selection. So seed selection is very true to its name. They select the rice variety they want to grow first, and then the seeds that they want to plant. That is because some seeds are of higher quality than other seeds and will grow higher quality crops. So this is a very crucial step because this is where it starts. This is what determines what type of rice crop will be grown. Then the next one is the land preparation. So this is basically like preparing your body to do something. The main objective of land preparation is to prepare the soil to grow rice. It's like no healthy soil, no healthy rice. So they do this by plowing and tilling to a predetermined level, which means they already know to what extent should they plow and till to allow the plants to develop a good root system that healthily swallows nutrients from the soil. This is achieved via tractors, which is a mechanical mean, like by technology, or manually with the help of animals. You could see farmers plowing with a cow, with carabaos or water buffaloes. Land preparation also includes land leveling. So land leveling ensures that water reaches all areas planted. So basically, in each farm, there is a water resource. And when they're ready to fill up the rice paddies with water, the land should be leveled so that the water could be distributed evenly and equally. So that is also very important. Next is the crop establishment. So this step is actually where they actually plant the rice. This is done by two ways. There's transplanting and direct seeding. So transplanting is a more popular technique. It is more commonly used, especially in Sri Lanka and in Asia. This is when they actually grow the seeds first in a different nursery. It's not to maturity, but 20 to 50 days till it's like young, like a young plant. When they're done growing it, they replant it back to the water paddies that they have prepared. They do this because it requires less seed and it is an effective method for controlling weeds. But a disadvantage is that it does require more labor unless it is mechanically done. This is because, yeah, it's separate. They grow it separately in the nursery, then they replant it back. So of course it will require more labor. I did see some farms, some modern farms. They have the machinery. They drive around, and the tractor just like plants it itself, which is very fascinating. And then the second way is direct seeding. So direct seeding, you can see the top picture. The top picture is the direct seeding. They spread the seeds. It's directly planted. There's no prior growing. You can see in the bottom picture with this transplanting, you can see that they're already a bit grown and they replanted back. So that's the two ways. Wow. Okay. So next is the water, nutrient, and crop health management. I really compressed this, so it's only the basic meaning, but let's start with the water management. So water management pertains to the rice being sensitive to the water levels that they really need. So each stage, or maybe like there are some days where they need more water, there are some days where they need less water. So the farmers cater to that need and they increase or decrease the amount of water. Nutrient management, basically, we all know that plants have different stages in growing. There's the seedling and to maturity. Each stage between that needs a different nutrient, and the farmers need to ensure that they give the proper nutrient at the right time. So this is the nutrient management. Next is the crop health management. So believe it or not, there are dangers in the outside world, especially to farmers, the farming. There's rodents, insects, weeds, diseases, there's parasites, there's worms. So the farmers have many different strategies to protect and to solve the problem. So an example would be when farmers manage weed control, they either remove it by hand or they use herbicides, which is basically pesticides but for herbs, I think. Okay, next is the harvesting. So this is when the crops are all grown, it's all mature, it's ready to be harvested. And depending on the variety, they usually grow like to maturity around 115 days to 120 days after they actually plant it to the rice paddies. So this includes the cutting, the stacking, the handling, the threshing. The threshing means they remove the grains from the actual grass stalk, and then the cleaning, and then the hauling. So this could be done manually or mechanically. If it's manual, of course, it will be harder and it does require more time, but it is very effective. You can see the pictures that I gave to you. The top picture is when they're removing it by hand, then they tie it up in bunches, then they carry it, and then they remove the grains in the third picture, and they ship it off to further processing. Mechanical harvesting is also effective, but there are barriers to it by cost and availability. Cost, like money, and availability, there may not be machinery in that particular region or something like that. Okay, next is the post-harvest. So after they're harvested, they're not really ready for consuming or by selling it as rice. So there are further processes. So the basic ones are drying, storage, and milling. Depending on the variety, there will be more steps, but this is the very basic ones. So drying. So drying is the process that reduces grain moisture. They do this because if it does have moisture when they store it, it will be an environment for bacteria to grow. So yeah, delays in drying, incomplete or ineffective drying will reduce the quality of the grain because they have impurities and will result to losses. Yes. And then next is the storage. So maybe it's not their turn to be milled yet, so they store it first and then they wait for their turn or something. But the proper storage conditions are also important because while they wait to be milled, there are still dangers. There's still some rodents, some moisture content. So it's like hyperdrive 24/7 watching. Next is the milling of rice. This is the most crucial part because this is when they remove the husks. They remove the outer layers that cover the rice within, parang ganun. And that, depending on the variety, if it's brown rice, they remove the husk, but they don't remove the bran. But if it's white rice, they further mill it to remove the bran. So it's white rice. So it really depends on the variety. Okay, next we're going to talk about varieties. So rice varieties, there's too many, very many. So from the Asian rice alone, there's over 40,000 varieties. So I'm just gonna talk about the sizes. So there's the long grained, the medium grained, and the short grained rice. The picture to the top is a picture of a long grain rice, which is high in amylose. So amylose is one of the components in starch. Due to its very tight structure, it makes the starch harder to digest. So yeah, and then long grain rice, they tend to remain intact. It means it's more fluffy. It's not really that sticky. That's it. Then the medium grain rice in the middle is stickier. It is high in amylopectin, which is the second component in starch. It's used for sweet dishes, for risotto, for paella, and many rice dishes. Then the last picture is the short grain rice, which is used very much in Japan because it's really sticky. And it's used for sushi, for rice pudding. Very yummy. I'm hungry. Okay. That's all. Next is the statistics. So this is very short, just some how much milled rice is there in the world. So this survey is from 2019 to 2020. You can see that China is leading by, this is measured in million metric tons, which is a lot. China is leading by 146.73 million metric tons. The total volume for milled rice in this year, like the total of everything, is 497.7 million metric tons. So very big number. China makes up 29% and followed by India, which takes up 24%. This is only the top 10 countries. There are other countries that make rice. You can see that Philippines made it, which I'm very proud of. Yay, we do eat a lot of rice. Okay, next. Next is rice in different cultures. So we all know that rice is a very big part of our lives, especially in Southeast Asia. And there is a reason why. This is because of the history of it. So I'm just gonna tell you. The current scientific opinion is, based on the evidence, is that the Oryza sativa rice, which is the one I talked about earlier, the Asian rice, it was first grown in the Yangtze River basin in China. This is the picture of the river. 13,500 to 8,200 years ago, which is a very long time to grow, to consume, to spread, to trade, and to really go out in the world. From that first cultivation, migration, and trade, they really spread it, but it first came to East Asia. It first came to East Asia, which is why it's very dominant in our region. The now less common Oryza glaberrima rice, the African rice, it was grown independently 3,000 to 3,500 years ago. So you can see here the time difference. The African rice is much later. There's not a lot of time for it to really spread than the Asian rice, and that's part of the reason why. Now you may wonder, why African rice? Why is it still grown if there's already Asian rice? This is because African rice is also grown for cultural reasons. So let's start with the estimated amount. There's an estimated 20% of rice grown in the West Africa. And by comparison to Asian rice, it is very hardy, pest-resistant, low labor, it's sturdy. And it is suited to a variety of African conditions and has a very distinct nutty flavor. I've never tasted it, but I want to try. Okay, it is also grown for cultural reasons. For instance, it is sacred to the followers of Awasina, which is a traditional African religion among the Jola people, and it is also a heritage variety in the United States, which means that it also reached the United States. Next is in Southeast Asia tradition. So I got this from Dr. Eric Crystal, which had a talk about the art of rice, the symbol and meaning in Southeast Asian village. So Doctor basically explained that rice was a big part in our hierarchies, basically. The more rice you had, the richer you are, and the more on top you are. The rice paddies, or if you have a bigger farm, you're also at the top. If you had more rice, you're also at the top. Rice was a very big part of our lives back then, which is also now, but not to this extent. Okay, and then in Asian cultures, rice is strongly associated with women and fertility. This is because they actually believe in a female rice deity, which is wow. And religious ceremonies have been conducted mainly for assurance of rice, fecundity of domestic animals, and the propagation of the human species. I think it worked because we're over 7 billion now. Both in Indonesia and the Philippines, senior skilled women have traditionally used delicate hand knives to select the seeds. This is because they believe that if they use something rougher, they will anger the rice goddess. Wow. Many Southeast Asian cultures believe in a female rice deity, and still today they make offerings. There are multiple regions where I actually saw one region where they stack the rice like grass, and then they make like a scarecrow, and then they pray to that, which is very fascinating. We're nearing the end. This is about some fun facts about rice. So one, the Great Wall of China is held together with sticky rice. Oh my God, I was shocked. I was shocked when I found this out. It's not really sticky rice. They at that time they made porridge. Okay, they made porridge. Then they mixed in calcium carbonate. I don't know how they got it, but they mixed in calcium carbonate and they used it as some cement. I feel like I see it in the picture. There's some white. Maybe that's the rice. Oh my God. And then next, rice is good for years unless it's brown. So I told you about the difference between the brown rice and the white rice. The brown rice has bran and germ. Not germs, but the germ. White rice, unless it's cooked, has a shelf life of 10 to 30 years, while brown rice only has a shelf life of 3 to 6 months. This is because of oxidation and the bran layer, making it easy for it to oxidize. The oxidation leads to expiry, which is why it has a very low shelf life. But it's healthy, if you can finish it, why not? Next is rice is grown on every continent except Antarctica. This is a very amazing fact to me. It means like it can be grown anywhere except cold places. And I saw like a story wherein the protagonist asks for 1 grain of rice, and then it turned to like over 1 billion grains. This is also like something like that. They said that 1 grain of rice could lead to 3,000 grains of rice, which is very fascinating to me. So yeah, I just love rice, to be honest. Okay, the end. This is by me. A special thanks to Google and PowerPoint. I really love making the presentation. Thank you. Okay.
The recording has stopped.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you, Maica. I am officially and partially congratulating you for doing that presentation. Thank you so much. You touched many aspects of my life because of that presentation. First, my wife's favorite food is rice.
Me too.
Yes, and it's also something that's because of your presentation for today's group presentation. I saw how your presentation should be connected. But before that, I would like to ask if Arwen and Ryan would have questions. Go ahead, guys.
Not too hard, please. Not too hard.
Parang ayaw nila magtanong.
Wag kayo magtanong.
Kasi sinabi mo na yung Great Wall of China may sticky rice. Go ahead, Crunch.
So, Micah, I can really see that you're a fan of rice. So, yeah, you said in your presentation that when rice is grown in every continent except Antarctica. What if you're on Antarctica? On Antarctica, sorry. If you're on Antarctica, do you feel like you're going to eat properly because there's no rice?
No. No. But no. Yeah, that's it. No.
It's the end of Maica ata. It's the end of Maica pag walang rice. Alright, thank you. It's like a personal question. Any additional questions, Arwen?
About rice. Rice.
I guess like do you think it's bad to like eat rice every day? Okay, I got.
Yeah.
Since you're like a rice expert now
Wow.
after your presentation.
Okay, so is it bad to eat rice every day? Actually, it kinda is. Very much so.
Okay.
This is because I researched a lot, to be honest. This is because I couldn't include this in the PowerPoint, but I really wanted to. There are arsenic contents in rice, especially in white rice. There's arsenic on it because of the maybe like pesticide or something. It's something on it, even though there's arsenic. They say that if you don't eat rice every day, maybe like once a week, it doesn't matter. But I eat a lot of rice every day, but I won't stop. But there is some contents of arsenic in it, so it's not really that good to eat every day. But I won't stop. Okay.
Alright. Thank you, Arvin, for raising that. Yes, Micah, that's a very good information that you're able to capture that some rice grown in different locations may have arsenic.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with this because a member of my victory group in church is a researcher in international research for rice. It's
May ganon!
in UP Los Baños.
May ganon!
Yeah, that's his specialty. He travels from one country to another to present about rice. And according to him, as long as rice is not grown with too much, parang there's this certain level of pesticide and insecticide, and fertilizer at the same time.
Yes.
That increases the amount of arsenic. That's why, Micah, as long as you go natural, no fertilizers or lesser fertilizers, you're all good.
Okay.
So thank you, Arlen, for raising. So at this point, I would like to go back to our initial exercise